Hello, this is GeoTechland, and today I'll be reviewing Elementary OS 5.0. And first of all, this review is going to be more about the theme and about how someone new to Linux would perceive it. It is my understanding and my belief that no matter what OS you use these days, especially the more popular ones, as long as you know just a little bit more than the average Linux user, you can customize it the way you want and tweak it the way you want and essentially have a very similar experience across all the top OSs. And since I'm focusing on the theme in this review, let me start with one of the most unique features on this here is this dash dock here. And I actually like this dock a lot, even more so than the GNOME dock. I know GNOME dock is usually like over here, but some distros like Solus has it where you can tweak it easily here, and it looks very similar, but I like this a lot more. It's more elegant. The one good thing here as well is that if you go to desktop dock, you can make them a little bit bigger, and I prefer that they're a little bit bigger. That's just me. One small tidbit though is that I would prefer that it lets me choose the size more precisely, like how GNOME does it, where you can kind of choose, like you can go from like 40 to 60 or 70. So that would be a little bit better, but as long as it lets me resize it, I think it's perfectly fine. The one other unique applications menu is this little menu here where you can easily scroll through here. It's very comparable to GNOME's dash, because you can just easily click here and then scroll the mouse wheel to browse through them. And so this menu itself looks very nice, very easy to use, very smooth and fast. Probably one of the bigger highlights here is Elementary's App Center. I think this has the best layout, again, especially from the perspective of a new user. I think they did a good job of this. Obviously on first install, or technically I'm using this on a USB, so I haven't installed the actual OS, as you guys can tell from this. So I don't know if this is supposed to be there, but this gets kind of annoying trying to browse through the App Center. Alright, so now let me go with the bad. And again, I'll start with the dock area. More specifically, the icon. A couple things here. The icons themselves don't look nice. I don't think they really stand out. Again, very nitpicky, but the Videos app, all it does is play video, so I don't even know why it's one of the main apps here. And so it's just like, why is this here? I would prefer something like a video editor like Kdenlive. And then same thing with the music app. I guess this is somewhat useful, but I don't think it's an essential desktop app. And then the calendar, I mean, it has the calendar here, although this one's slightly more robust calendar. I don't know if it should be here either. And like this icon itself, this looks nice. This looks okay. This icon is obviously simple screen recorder's icon. The one big thing about the theming here is that, and this is an issue with a lot of distros, especially beginner-friendly distros, is that there's no way to change the theming on this. Obviously the most you can go is here, and that's about it. And I know they try to keep it very simple and they don't want like users to tweak too much, but they should at least allow you and at least give a warning like, hey, you can tweak these settings, but the overall desktop may not look and be as unified as we'd like. I'd rather them have it that than just removing it completely. So something like Elementary Tweak should be enabled by default, and that goes the same for Ubuntu or distros like Ubuntu. GNOME Tweak should be enabled by default. I think my fave distro, Manjaro GNOME, has it by default. And so even though the theming is very simple and there's a lot of good things like the App Center, very simple, easy to use, the theming itself, like I don't know if this like gray colors here and in the bottom of the dock are the best colors. I feel like that has so much room for improvement. The other thing too is I know they kind of try to do things differently, but having the close button and this here, it just doesn't feel right. Again, especially if you're luring like Mac users or Windows users, I think it should just be more traditional. And I don't like how this and something like Pop! OS has the minimize disabled. Sometimes I don't want to go all the way down here to minimize that. It's just a lot of movement there. On that note though, that reminds me, I do like that I can just click and minimize it. You can't really do that on GNOME, for example, unless you got to tweak it a little bit. The other thing too is there's not a lot of apps installed by default. So like LibreWriter wasn't even installed by default, and I actually couldn't get it to work. Maybe I need to install the full OS. But I feel like that's just such an essential app that needs to be installed by default. And for some reason, this being an Ubuntu derivative, I actually couldn't install OBS again, which is another top and favorite video recording software or screen capture software. I feel like Elementary OS does try to push certain apps, and again, I always like to think Elementary OS copies a lot of the Mac OS look. It even somewhat is copying how restrictive they can be, because you can't tweak things, you can't change icons easily. There's a lot of apps that are missing or that you have to install, like LibreWriter, OBS. I think you can install it through the terminal, but that's kind of a pain sometimes. So overall, from a new user's perspective or a newbie Linux user, I'm personally more of an intermediate user, but my goal with the channel is to bring Linux to the noobs. And I thought Elementary OS would be a good option, but it's a mixed bag for me. It gets a lot of things right, it gets a lot of things wrong. It has potential though if they kind of include certain apps. Doesn't even have Firefox, for example, either installed by default, which most distros have. So if they include certain apps by default, I think they can always update the theming, let you change icons easier. I think this could be a good distro for newbies. I just don't think it is a good distro now. So there you guys have it. If you guys disagree or agree with my review here, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.